Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan, as many of you know. I just watched Super for the first time ever. I reviewed the entire series on a couple of days ago on a big old video, like 45 minutes long. I've been on a Z kick recently, kind of off and on. 1 second I'm into Star Wars, 1 second I'm into some Dragon Ball Z. Now I'm having like a little bit of a hint of, hey, you need some Goosebumps in your life. It's summertime, that's the time to read Goosebumps. I've been all over the place. So, I wanted to go ahead and complete this one that I bought. Two games kind of together. There's kind of a series, but it's all Dragon Ball Z stuff anyway from years ago on the Xbox 360. Recommended to me from a friend of mine he has two channels. One is called Goosebumps Completionist. He's one of the best Goosebumps YouTubers. I almost said completionists, but YouTubers too, on the internet. I love his videos, great guy. He has another channel though called Horror Free For All. It's Horror FFA, short for that, Free For All. And fantastic YouTuber. Again, I recommend those videos too. That's where he just talks about like horror movies and movies he loves. He told me that his personal favorite game from Dragon Ball Z was a game called Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2. And I never did own this when I was a kid, but I decided to buy this one and this one, the original game that I'm about to review, because I haven't played this one yet at all. I don't know anything about this game aside from it's probably similar to this, and I kind of hope not, but I'll talk about that in a moment. I'm trying to pick up all the old ones I missed, like Infinite Tenkaichi, I think is one of them. I don't know. But Dragon Ball Raging Blast is the one I'm about to talk about. The Raging Blast 2 was his favorite. I got both of these for a randomly really solid price on eBay, probably, I want to say 3.5 months ago, somewhere in there, maybe closer to 3 or 2.5, somewhere in there. I got it a while back, though. And I've been working on this one very slowly, but like I said, I haven't tried this. And my boy, eventually I'll have a review for you for this, because, you know, you recommended it to me, and I'm glad I got it when I did, because the prices on these two games are soaring so high, dude. This first game right here, though, the one I'm about to review, came out in 2009, and of course the sequel came out in 2010, the year after. Now, I was new to this. I'd never played this. I only recently started actually liking the Tenkaichi games as of last year, because when I was a kid, I had the first Tenkaichi game, and I thought it was brutal, because I didn't understand the control scheme. I was used to the Budokai 1, 2, and 3 controls, and even Infinite World after that, and I think Tenkaichi is one of my big reasons why I had a falling out with Dragon Ball Z games in general. Eventually I picked up Fighter Z, which I reviewed here on the channel, or Fighters. Do you pronounce it that way? I don't know how you pronounce it. It looks like it's one word, but it's Z, so I assume it's Dragon Ball Z, so I assume Fighter Z. I don't know. Who gives a shit? Anyway, Raging Blast is a game that I was looking forward to because it's Xbox 360, and I was curious, like, each new rendition or new spin-off series like Tenkaichi, Budokai Tenkaichi, all of these different things, they have different ways of playing. They have different control schemes and different graphics and that kind of thing, obviously because of the different generations over time. And I was curious what this game was going to be like. Every time I pick up a new series like Raging Blast or Tenkaichi, I have to kind of figure out and learn the control scheme again. And typically they can be similar. Some of them will use like the triangle button on the PlayStation to shoot blasts, Kai Blast, that kind of thing. Not like Kamehameha Waves, that's like a special combo of some sort of buttons. But usually just a basic like, pew, like that's like a triangle or a Y button on an Xbox controller. So I was a little bit trying to figure this out, figure my way out through the controls, and I gotta tell you, I think personally, this is coming from somebody who's been out of the game for a while, who has not played every Dragon Ball Z game out there, including like the newest one, like Kakarot. I think it's the newest one. Breakers, I haven't played that yet either. I bought it, but I haven't played it. When it comes to me and my opinion of Dragon Ball Z controls, the one that feels the most natural to me is the original Budokai games and Infinite World. The step up behind that, even though a lot of people think these are the best games ever, is the Tenkaichi controls. Those really hit me well as I played more of Tenkaichi back in the day. I feel like those really land once you get used to how to shoot. Like, for example, when you shoot a Kamehameha Wave in the Budokai Tenkaichi games, you have to hit down L2 and a triangle button on PS2, which is so unnatural to me. When I was a kid, I never knew how to shoot any kind of blasts at all. And it was hard. It was a very hard game, and I never beat it until recently when I beat it and made my video where I just had a picture of the game on the screen and me as a voiceover, whatever. Anyway, I love Dragon Ball Z games. I love Dragon Ball in general, but really Z games are where it's at for me. And I was curious going into Raging Blast, what is it going to be like? And it was probably, to me, this is going to be kind of controversial to say, and I don't know if it's going to carry over to Raging Blast 2 or not. Hopefully it's improved. I could not stand the basic setup for controls and special attacks like Kamehameha Waves, Destructo Discs, all that shit in this game. I fucking hated that about it. And for a fighting game, you need to be able to enjoy that. Now, it's rough, in my opinion. I've heard that a lot about this game as I played it more and was so disappointed when I first started it, and that's what I would use as a word to describe a lot of this game. Not all of it, but a lot of it is the word disappointing. I was really thrown off by looking on the internet after I was so disappointed to see how many other people were apparently disappointed with this too. The fights themselves are fairly easy most of the time, I would say. I only failed maybe 2 or 3 fights in the entire game. Of course, I typically play on easy mode. I'm not the best gamer ever. But if there's an option to play something on easy, I typically do. And even some games, it doesn't really matter. Like Fallout 3, easy will fuck you up. It doesn't matter. But Raging Blast was one that was fairly easy for the easy setup. Frankly, I probably could have played it on normal, but I feel like I would have failed a lot more. But I feel like I could have done it. Now, hard, that's a whole different game. I ain't playing that. And you have to play hard to unlock a lot of the story mode mission things to beat the entire game, but like you can get a credits roll if you just play it on easy through, but there are certain fights and missions in like the what if sections of the game and the story mode stuff. Like, you remember in the tournament in Majin Buu Saga where Trunks and Goten fought? You can unlock that by buying it with stars that you unlock later in the game. But I'm not going to play it on hard. I don't want to unlock it. I don't care enough to, because I'd rather enjoy the game I'm playing rather than stress so much about it. And I said that in my LEGO Star Wars review, too, for the Skywalker Saga. I don't feel like freaking out trying to beat the whole game. I play what I want to enjoy, and I stop. That's what I do. You can't beat everything. I'll never beat something like Smurfs Racing for the PlayStation 1. As much as I love it, I'll never beat that. So why even try? Why go out of your way to panic and get so flustered and frustrated with it? In some games, that will happen to me. Like the plane flying mission, like the flight school thing from San Andreas. I get pretty angry when I play that game over and over again and I have to do that. So, yeah. But anyway, so this game's control scheme I don't like. The biggest change that I do not like at all is that you have to use the right joystick on the Xbox 360 controller to be able to shoot any kind of blasts of any sort. If you're going to do like a Kamehameha Wave with Goku, you have to hit forward. But the thing is, every time you do like a 4 or 5 punching button, in this case the X button, hitting that, your character just kind of stops. It's like he's exhausted for a second, has to take a breather for a good 2 seconds, which is enough to get your ass kicked. All of a sudden the other guy who's not exhausted could just run over and kick the crap out of you. And again, playing the story modes of this game, it's basically Dragon Ball Z from the Raditz story all the way into Majin Buu Saga, and then a What If spin-off thing with a couple of movies like Bardock and Legendary Super Saiyan thrown in there as well. But that's really it. You just kind of go to the next fight, click play, choose your condition, which is like easy, and then you fight. And that's it. And it just kind of does that over and over again. It doesn't explain the story of Dragon Ball Z very well. If you don't know the anime or the manga, you're not going to be able to follow it that well. I wouldn't recommend this as somebody's first ever Dragon Ball Z game. I would go back to the original Dragon Ball Budokai game and recommend that first for PS2. I feel like it's a little bit easier. It saves you a lot more time if you're not going to watch the show before you jump into something like this. But this game will spoil you, and it will confuse you. That's the biggest thing if you're not used to how these story modes go. You're going to wonder why Bardock looks like Goku, and it's even brought up in the game too. That stuff is kind of fun, but it's not like completely written. Some of the stuff I'm convinced are pulled directly from the show, I mean the voice acting stuff, and put in here. But some of it is clearly new, like Sean Schemmel, Christopher Sabat, all the typical guys for the American dub came back to do this, which is cool. Love those guys. That's cool. I enjoyed that. But the actual fighting, having to use a right joystick to like hit up, down, left, right, click the right side joystick, all of that shit, to me is not good for your joysticks on your controllers. I feel like that's the way to ruin a joystick over time. But on top of that, I just don't like how it plays. I just physically don't like how that plays when you use that. And maybe it's just me. I don't know. I don't like the feel of it. I feel like there's something off about it. There's something about it just feels off the way you have to do that. I'm so not used to that in any Dragon Ball Z game I've ever played. Again, I don't know if something like Kakarot has that option, but I don't think it does. I don't see why they would go back to that option. It seems like a step back as far as I'm concerned when it comes to that. Not a fan of the joystick thing, is what I'm trying to tell you after all those words. But otherwise, the fighting, like the punching and kicking stuff, again, after that delay of combo stuff, that's bad. I don't like that at all. It really kind of stops the momentum of the fight, whereas like in Budokai 3, my personal favorite Dragon Ball Z game, I could kick some ass, man. I could kick some ass because I just kept going. I wouldn't stop. And my friends and I, when we would play on PlayStation 2 back when we were kids, after I had mastered the thing, had played it through like 6 or 7 times, because I've really truly played that game more than like anything in my life, video game-wise, aside from like Silent Hill games. I mastered the shit so much that I could fuck you up in 2 seconds in that game. To this day, I feel like the arcade fighting style of Dragon Ball Z games like that and Fighter Z are the way to play those games, are the way to design a Dragon Ball Z game, even if the fans kind of get put off by it and want something different every once in a while. I understand trying new things. That can be nice. But overall, this game, aside from the joystick feel, kind of feels like a stopping momentum in the middle of the fight because of combo, weird exhaustion, stuff that I hope it's not in Part 2. It feels overall kind of like a modern, at the time, adaptation of Tenkaichi games. It feels like it wanted to be the new Tenkaichi 4 without having the title. It really does sometimes. Even down to the graphics, the way the fights look. The graphics are beautiful, by the way. I mean, the designs of the mountains and everything. You can punch and kick people so hard that they fly into this shit, and you will see mountains collapse. That stuff looked incredible with the engine they used for this game. I will give the game its total benefit on that. It's wonderful looking. The music in the game is absolutely wonderful looking. Yeah, the writing and stuff might not be strong, the explanation of Dragon Ball Z's story might not be super in-depth, which, by the way, when it comes to that, how come when you have like the Raditz and Frieza sagas, and then you have like the Android sagas, how can we cover every single fight ever in those manga, or in the anime, from what I remember, maybe skipping 1 or 2 here and there, and then you get to the Majin Buu saga, and it's a pretty big saga. If you watch the show, it's a pretty long amount of stuff in the anime that you have to watch, and a lot of fights too, you know, and they skip over some of them. As you get closer to the end of the Buu saga in this game, they skip over a lot of stuff, especially around the time that Gohan fights Super Buu. It was very strange to see them skip the things they skipped for here. It's just a personal opinion, but to see it so in-depth for all the previous sagas and then get to the Majin Buu saga and they're cutting around corners so much, it's bizarre. I talked about the What If saga briefly, where they do kind of just what-if stories. These are not real, they're not canon, if you consider giving a shit about canon like some weirdos on the internet do. There are some really cool things they have in here. For example, you also have kind of like a couple of things that are exclusive to Raging Blast and Raging Blast 2, which are Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and Broly. And those look awesome. I think they look freaking cool, man. I really love it, but I'll never unlock it because you have to play so much of the game to unlock stars to get, basically I have to play them on like hard mode and everything. I ain't doing all that. Again, I'm not going to stress over this game and get so upset about it. I actually want to enjoy this game, and I don't feel like going through all that and keep having to unlock stars to unlock this character and that character. That can be fun for some people. I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't want to be in a frustrated mode, especially when I don't like the controls of this game, that I feel like aren't just a challenge. That would not be the problem. The problem is that, again, when these characters fight and you hit a combo, they just stop. They just stop and they just stare at the other guy, and then you finally get to pick up your pace again. That opens up so much room to get fucked up so bad that I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm gonna get frustrated, I'm gonna throw my controller, and then I'll be out an Xbox 360 controller, and I'll have to use the other one that doesn't work as well, because the joysticks have drift on them for some reason. Why does that keep happening to every controller that I have? It never happened in my entire life until I had to move, when my wife and I moved to this house. But anyway, it's so weird. What is another thing? Yeah, this is another thing too. So in the story modes, you don't really transform into like Super Saiyan. This is a big thing I love talking about in my games when I review Dragon Ball Z stuff, is the transformations into Super Saiyan. One of my favorite things from the show back in the day. You don't really just do that. When you're playing the story mode, it just kind of happens. Your character just decides, well, I'm going to go Super Saiyan, because that's what I did in this fight. And that can be cool. I don't mind the look of the transformation, even though it's weird when you're flying around in the sky, and then you transform, and it's just your character on the ground transforming, and then all of a sudden it cuts back to you back in the sky again. Very odd, but I did find out doing the tutorial stuff that I had to do to understand how to play this game in the menu, When I did the tutorial, I found out that when you're playing like free play or playing with friends online, which I think would have been really fun back in the day, would play tournaments and competitions and stuff like my friend Horror Free For All had said for Raging Blast 2, that would probably be super fun. I really feel like that would be a great fun thing to do. If you have two controllers, play it with your friend. I really think a split screen on this could be really cool too. But when you transform in those fights and not in the story mode, you have to hold down like the right trigger according to the tutorial menu, and then hit like, it'll come up with a little wheel menu, right? And you like aim the menu, or you hit the like Y button to go like the first Super Saiyan thing, whatever's listed on the pictures that come up in the corner of the screen. And then you have like the other options that you can turn into if you have enough ki built up. That's not a horrible system. I don't mind that much. I just like the option of being able to turn Super Saiyan in games, not just have a character automatically do it, or have it connected to just an ultimate attack of some sort. I really like having the option to just turn into it when I want to. But they also have the option here, kind of like in Budokai 3, where you can turn back whenever you want to. You don't have to get the shit kicked out of you and then run out of energy and then, you know, go back to normal. No, you can actually hit a button and it'll transform you back into your regular state, and I really like that option. That's something cool that was never in Dragon Ball Z games, that as a kid, I would have loved that. That's a cool thing. But again, I'm not really about the fighting style in here. I feel like the controls are just too messy. To me, they ruin the momentum of the fights. They ruin the momentum of the game. One of the biggest issues with this game that I had to, that I really have to hit on, is that the camera is not your friend at all. And I heard this is improved in Raging Blast 2, maybe because of the fighting mechanics or the control scheme or something. But the camera here gets me so dizzy, dude. It doesn't just automatically switch. I mean, you have the option on the D-pad to be able to move it left and right behind your third-person perspective on your character, but it doesn't always matter, because if you're fighting too close to like a hill or a mountain or something, you get blocked and you can't see anything. So your characters naturally go invisible. Not the wall, you still see the faint ghost of the wall that you're stuck in, but the characters will go invisible, so you don't even know if you're hitting your other person unless you hear the sound effects, and half the time when you're fighting in this game, your character doesn't just charge directly at the guy that you're fighting because it's a 3D environment. He might go at him, and then his kick might miss. One of the worst people to fight in this game is Chaozu. Chaozu is so goddamn tiny in the game that every fucking kick that I threw at this guy would miss. Every single time. It's ridiculous. There was no excuse for it. It's so frustrating. And half the time when you shoot a Kamehameha Wave, or a Destructo Disc, or Gallic Gun, or anything like that, you're gonna miss them more than likely. Because everybody knows to move out of the way. The computer cheats, and it's like, oh, well damn, you suck. And it just moves. You know? And it's so obnoxious, dude. I hate that about it. I love a lot of the game. I really do. I really love certain aspects, and there's a lot of things I want to love that just don't meet up for me. And that is one of the worst things in the game, is how you can aim guns or weapon, whatever you want to call it, your blasts, your ultimate blast, whatever you want to call it, finishing moves, at these people and still miss. Now, to be fair, they can always fly the opposite way again and accidentally get caught in the beam, and I feel like if you're doing split screen or online, I feel like that would have happened a lot more. The people would have just tried to get out of the way and then they accidentally got back in the way. That sucks, especially when you do it, when you're fighting the computer and you get stuck in the wave again. The computer cheats in this game, I'm telling you. It's bullshit. Especially when you fight Piccolo. Piccolo will fuck you up no matter who you're playing as. Anyway, this is a mess of a game. And that camera work, especially when somebody goes up in the sky and you're on the ground and you have to go up after them, you have two options. You can either slowly increase while the damn camera is spinning everywhere to make you sick, or you can hit the A button and use your ki to go blasting over at them, and then you have nothing to fight them with or to blast them with or anything. It's to me messy. I don't like that. I don't like the setup on the control scheme. And again, I heard online, like on Reddit, on the internet, different articles I looked at, that Raging Blast 2 improved on a lot of the controls. I hope it's true. I really genuinely hope it's true, but I'm not going to count on that. Eventually I'll get around to this. I'm not going to start it yet because I'm still trying to finish up a couple of games I've been working on recently, like Callisto Protocol, Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer, and when I finish up those, maybe I'll come back to Raging Blast 2, but I haven't decided yet. With that being said, though, Dragon Ball Raging Blast. It's not a bad game. I don't want you to think it's a bad game, but the arcade style here, that it's trying to mix that with like a modern Tenkaichi, at the time modern Tenkaichi feel, sometimes it works. Sometimes it works really well. I would say a majority of the time it doesn't, and that's just me. But the beautiful graphics, the beautiful mountains and the skybox and everything looks so good. The frame rate is typically really good. That stuff is incredible. The ultimate finishers, when you get enough ki built up and you do something like that, the stuff looks incredible, dude. It really does. The lack of, like, GT involved in here, or, like, Super Saiyan 4 involved in here, the fact that that's not even in the game, is shocking. I wish I could let me try that again. I wish I could unlock Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and Broly, but that ain't never gonna happen. But that's really cool if you want to go online and see some of the videos. Those things look sick. Both of them look awesome, dude. But, I'm not gonna stress over this game. To me, it's one of the weaker Dragon Ball Z games, but it's not bad. It's not a bad one at all. If you haven't played this, it's worth the play if you're a big fan. But if you're not a fan, again, don't go into this expecting to know how the story goes, because I don't think you're going to get it. I really don't. My fear is that Raging Blast 2 will be a copy and paste of this and not improved at all. But my boy Horror Free For All says it is, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, Dragon Ball Raging Blast. Have you played it? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about Dragon Ball Z, about this game. Put all of that down in the comment section down below. If I had to rate this game on a 5-star basis, I would probably give it about a 3 out of 5 stars. It's a very weak one, in my opinion. Again, not a bad game, just disappointing. That's the word I would use with this game. But dude, you can't tell me the music in this game, as repetitive as it can be, doesn't get you pumped up. It's really cool. Even though the intro to the game, like with the CGI trailer commercial thing, it's not as good as they used to be. It's not. It's not Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 1, 2, or 3. It's not Budokai 1, 2, or 3, or Infinite World. It's just okay. It reminds me of when Burst Limit came out back in the day. The intro to that wasn't the greatest from what I remember. But anyway, have you played Raging Blast? Put your thoughts and comments down below. 3 out of 5 stars for me. God bless you guys. Goodbye.